All right, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to another virtual meeting of the Central Ohio .NET Developers Group, better known as CONDG. So if you're new here, this is your first time checking out the user group, once again, welcome, and we're glad that you could attend. For all those regulars, we're happy to see you again, and we're always excited to have another great presentation for you to enjoy. For those that don't know, CONDG is a user group that focuses on .NET related technology stack, and we meet normally the fourth Thursday of every month to share knowledge and learn about all kinds of new and exciting technologies. The group is free, it's open to the public, and all developers, whether they're seasoned professionals or brand new hobbyists, are always welcome and encouraged to attend meetings. While we wait a couple minutes for people to continue joining in, just a quick reminder that hopefully everything runs smoothly, but if not, please bear with us since this live streaming thing can be a bit tricky. We've got an exciting presentation tonight by Maddy on .NET 6, MAUI, and the future of Xamarin. But first, we got a couple of slides to run through, which we'll kick off in just a minute here. Let's see if everyone's up and running. Looks like we've got about 16, 17 people in here right now, so good evening, everyone. Get that slide deck kicked. There we go. All right, so we have Twitter, we've got Facebook. Oh, I think it's auto running. Hold on. Website. Okay, hold on here. This is auto running. Sorry, guys. I'll do it fast. Twitter, Facebook, all that. Of course, the really important thing is Meetup, as always. That's where you're going to find out when the next meeting is and all of that information about where things are going to be. We have a YouTube account, so I would love for you to all sign up and join if you haven't. Our goal is to try to hit for 100. I think that needs to be updated. That might be a little less than 38 left to go, but once we hit 100, you get some extra access in YouTube to do some more cool things, so we're hoping you can do that for us. Raffles tonight. We've got JetBrains licenses for any other products. We'll do a giveaway. There should be the scan QR code, so you can do that, and Couchbase. I think we have some stuff, and actually I believe there's a book as well that we're giving away. I'll have to go check on that. There are other user groups in town. We have the Azure user group, the Central Ohio Azure user group. They meet the second Monday of every month in the Microsoft Office. There's the Columbus App Dev user group, and they meet the third Monday, and I believe they might be in person now, or they're still a meeting online. I haven't checked and updated, but you can always check out their website for more on that. There's CBus Data. They used to be known as CBus Pass, but Pass is kind of reinventing itself, which is the Professional Association of SQL Server users. So CBus Data is that new group. And finally, our meeting calendar. We have tonight's presentation. Next month, we're still looking to fill a spot. In October, we have Chris Woodruff doing an Entity Framework, and then we sort of start out the rest of our year. Meeting topics. We're getting through a lot of the ones that are on the list, but we're always looking to add more. So if you know any presenters out there for any of these topics, we would love for you to let us know, and we can try to contact them and get those scheduled. As always, if you're looking for work or hiring, feel free to post it in the chat if you want, or if you want a little more privacy. Matt Groves has offered to do connections, so you can email him at me@mgroves.com. We also have a little reminder. This is just a ad hoc group of people that runs this user group. So there's Matt Groves, myself, Alan Barber, and Matt Edlin. We're always looking for more people to help us out, so if you're interested in joining and helping us find speakers and run the user group, get in contact with one of us and we can do that. And then finally, Maddy tonight, .NET 6, MAUI, and the future of Xamarin. And let's see if I can get her switched over. Come on, go bye-bye.
Am I on? Am I good?
All right. Can we get a audio check, everyone?
Check, check, check. Hopefully you can hear me.
All good?
Good? Good?
Let's see if anyone says anything.
Chat?
It sounds good in my ear, so we're going to go ahead and say that we're good to go.
All right, chat. If you can't hear me, let me know. I'm watching. Yeah. Oh, volume's good. Okay, good. I have a tendency to like really shout into my mic. So if I start to clip, let me know and I can turn it down. I'm from the Northeast. I'm from Boston. So my voice pierces through everybody's skull sometimes. Yeah. Do you want me to kick it off and get started, or do you have anything else you want to share? All righty. Okay. I am very excited. Thank you so much for having me. So a former colleague of mine actually submitted this talk. And then a current colleague of mine was like, hey, can you do this next week? And I was like, probably. Yeah. I know what's going on with the thing I work on, right? That's what I hope. But as Alan can attest, I was literally working on my demo 5 minutes before this because the way I wanted to start this was this tweet I sent out an hour or so ago, where I was like, why is this not working? And the engineering lead of .NET MAUI said, that's an old project template. And I was like, I literally updated everything like yesterday at like 4 p.m. Like, I'm not kidding. And he was like, yeah, it's ancient. Like, they've pushed in so many things. This is how we're working with MAUI right now. Everything is changing like at the speed of light. So my options with talks lately have been either show you the good stable stuff that's been out there for a month, but is totally not the truth anymore, or kind of fly by the seat of my pants and hope that we at least have a good time. And I'm going to show you the latest and greatest and give you kind of a vision for where we're going to go. I'm going to try to stick to the original abstract. I'll definitely show Visual Studio and some demos and all that stuff. But yeah, I think I first wanted to start off with just kind of an overview of what on earth is this .NET MAUI thing? What is going on with .NET? What is Xamarin, if you haven't heard of it? This is a .NET user group, so I hope that you've heard of .NET before. But if you are new to the .NET stack, don't be confused. It's confusing. When someone asked me to explain the difference between .NET Framework and Core 3 years ago, I said there's a difference. So that is where I was at not a long time ago with the whole .NET world. Oh, cool. I see another Massachusetts person in the chat. Hello, welcome. Horrible weather, and then also really good simultaneously we've had lately. So .NET is really your platform for building anything. And a lot of times people associate .NET with C#, which is true in a lot of cases. But you can also use VB, F#, kind of the more functional version of C#, all those things. And it targets not just Windows or web, which is what you hear a lot too, but all of the different places that you can basically have code running. I mean, we've got .NET running everywhere. And so the mobile part in the middle here has traditionally been filled by a product called Xamarin. And Xamarin was a startup that was built on the open source version of .NET. I'm sure if you are a longtime .NET fan, you know of Mono, you know of Miguel de Icaza, the founder of Mono back in 2001. He started writing it to be the open source kind of like Linux, and eventually when the iPhone came out, Apple friendly .NET version. And Microsoft at some point was like, hey, we don't have a phone anymore, so we should grab these guys. And they acquired Xamarin, and that was about 5 years ago. So since then, Xamarin has kind of been its own sovereign nation that's just like, we're the mobile .NET. And we really had 3 pillars and continue to have 3 pillars, but I'll talk about what's changing with MAUI. The first being that, we have native performance, right? We want to make sure that your phone cannot tell you're running an app that's not built natively for that phone. An Android phone it'll run just in time compiled. An iOS device will run it ahead of time. It's an ARM binary for the App Store. You submit it the same way you submit an app you write in Swift or Objective-C or whatever it is. And that was kind of the first really important part of Xamarin, was that, we wanted it to be as close to the metal as possible. Because if you think about the other cross-platform frameworks that especially were out there in the early 2010s, a lot of those things kind of ran interpreted on top, and then there were these huge performance issues. So yeah, that was kind of the first big thing. The second one was that pretty much anything you could do in the native language, we wanted you to be able to do in C# and .NET. So whether that was, and I think when Xamarin started, I'm not even sure if Touch ID was like a thing yet. But yeah, things like opening a file in the browser and sending a text message and accessing the battery life of the device, like these things that you don't really think are not part of an app because they're just so fundamental to using a phone. but are all things that are native. So, the way that you send a text message on Android, the calls that you use in the API are different than the calls you use in the API and for iOS. So you have to kind of do the right thing, but you don't want to have to jump into Java or Objective-C or Swift or Kotlin or whatever. So how do we make sure that you can do all this in C#, whether it's abstracted or not? And then native UI. So we wanted you to be able to write an app for iOS that looked and felt like an iOS app. Like, we didn't want to create a design language that everything looked how we said it looked and you couldn't customize it. My favorite example of this is if you think about the iOS settings screen in like 2008, and it had like the pinstripe background and it was like really bubbly and the fonts were gross. And now it's just like a white screen with like these very thin gray lines. Those are all just the native iPhone controls updating their style based on what Apple's like UI kit guidance has been. So with a Xamarin app, you were able to, kind of ride the wave of what the operating system wanted your OS to look like, their modern design standards and all that. And of course you could customize on top of it. So if your app on Android had to have a certain branding or something so it looked more like your iOS app, you can make that happen too. And then the way you built UI was with something called Xamarin.Forms. And Xamarin.Forms was really this cross-platform XAML. Originally it was C#, but I think most people use it in XAML. Definitely most people use it in XAML. I think it's like 90-something%. But it is just an abstraction over those native controls where we have a Xamarin.Forms button. And under the hood, it is a UI kit button for Apple, and it is an Android button widget or whatever for an Android phone. And Xamarin.Forms is what is evolving into this .NET multi-platform app UI. So we looked at Forms, we looked at the Xamarin native experiences, which is really just Xamarin on iOS, just Xamarin on Android, and you use kind of the native UIs on top of that. And Xamarin.Forms is really the predominant way to develop apps with .NET. For mobile now, and we also target UWP as of today. And we had a couple like big things from customers that we wanted to address. One was that they didn't understand why something that we kept saying was part of .NET was not actually part of .NET. Like, Xamarin.Forms projects are .NET standard, but Xamarin native projects were an older project system. They weren't SDK style. Xamarin Android and iOS, when you wanted to update those, you had to update Visual Studio. There were a lot of weird things. And that also meant that packages with .NET that were built for .NET Core at this point in time were not compatible with Xamarin necessarily, because Xamarin wasn't really .NET, even though we kept saying it was. It was Mono. So the package had to be able to run on Mono Droid or whatever it was. So it was just very confusing. That was one of the main issues. The next one was that people wanted more flexibility with their UIs. So whether that was, not using XAML, using a different type of programming model altogether, like we have web developers, they don't necessarily, I'm sure some of you are web developers. I know MVVM makes a lot of web devs sick when desktop devs, that's like, our bread and butter. But we wanted to make the architecture more flexible, more extensible. And in the past 13 years or so, since the first iOS settings page, believe it or not, but people's design ideology has changed. So it turns out people don't want their apps to look necessarily like the native platform anymore. They want to have a designer that works for your company, hand them a Figma file or whatever it is, or a Photoshop or an Illustrator, and say, this is what my app should look like, and these are what your buttons should look like. And then you should be able to really easily customize your UI to look the exact same on both platforms, if that's what you want. And so there were a lot of different things, a lot of different opportunities we had, the biggest of which being like pulling ourselves into the .NET runtime officially. And the Mono team and the .NET team kind of merged and started this whole one .NET initiative. And then .NET 5 came out, but we weren't really there yet. Now .NET 6 is really when you're going to start seeing, and when MAUI and Xamarin and mobile and all this stuff really become a core part of the .NET runtime. So the nice thing about that is we'll also be targeting, adding support to target WinUI 3 apps and Mac Catalyst. So you'll be able to run your .NET MAUI apps on any of the modern desktops or phones from a single code base with very, very, customizable, shareable, like totally reusable code. So it's very exciting. And you'll be able to swap out backends and all that stuff with .NET with ease. So where are my little bullet points? Okay. I think I said all these things. Yes. Cross-platform native UI, same. It's built on Xamarin.Forms. It's an evolution of Xamarin.Forms. Let me pull up my template, my layout of all the slides so I don't repeat myself too much. And I promise we'll get onto the slides soon. So yeah, I mean, really, this is our pitch. It's this productive way to create native, performant Android, iOS, macOS, and Windows apps from a single code base. And it's really going to be the key workload for .NET developers in Visual Studio 2022. So of course, everything and stuff, you know, ASP.NET, Blazor, and I saw that there was a Blazor talk on your docket too a couple of months ago. So you know all about that. All of those things are going to be working well in Visual Studio 2022, which, if you haven't heard, is in preview and is going to be 64-bit. It works very well. When we first got the internal build of it in April, I could not open the tools options window. So we've come a very long way in the past 4 months. We're in great shape. But yeah, that's really exciting. And .NET MAUI is really going to be kind of this culmination of the .NET stack kind of coming together, I think, to really embrace this open source and agile and all these things that Mono kind of stood for. And Xamarin, and also, well, we can learn back from the .NET stack and the success they've had with the millions and millions of developers who use .NET every day. So one thing I wanted to mention, because I did see that, you know, since this is a .NET user group, you probably have heard about Blazor. One of the most exciting things for what we call client developers, so people who don't really develop for desktop or mobile right now, is we are actually building in support for .NET MAUI to do what we call Blazor Hybrid. This has been called like 8,000 things. Blazor Hybrid desktop apps is like what we're calling them now. But the idea, it's very simple. You make a file new MAUI app and you open a tag in your XAML, or you do it in your C# and it says Blazor Web View. And then you put a root or whatever, and it just points to your Blazor project as it is. And you can just run your Blazor app on the desktop inside of a desktop app container. However, you know, if it's an offline app, if it doesn't need any online functionality, it'll just work perfectly fine if they're not connected to the internet. If they are connected to the internet, it'll just make all those web calls for you. But the really nice part about this is if you have a web app and you do have the need for like an offline scenario, like, oh, you're not connected to the internet, but you still want to be able to see all of the dogs on this page from the last time we pulled it. I don't know. You can build that in .NET MAUI, kind of as the container around the Blazor app. You can use native controls. You can use the native functionality and things like calling to the taskbar, into the system notifications tray, and getting battery and device, and all those native functionalities that I had on that like second or third slide. You can do around your existing Blazor app, and all of that data and state is interchangeable. So it's really, really nice if you're a Blazor developer who's wanted to target the desktop for a while. Yeah. Also part of kind of like the .NET 6 wave. So I mentioned that this is .NET MAUI is an evolution of Xamarin and Xamarin.Forms. And so for some people, that's like, isn't Xamarin like old? It's like, well, it's changed a lot. I've been on the team for over 3 years, and it has changed. Like, it's almost unrecognizable what it is today to what it was 3 years ago. But one of the things I really like about MAUI is that even though we're kind of overhauling Xamarin and the runtime to be on .NET, and we're kind of re-architecting Xamarin.Forms into .NET MAUI to be more extensible and all this stuff, it's still, you know, built on this very mature and proven tech. And all these customers that use Xamarin we're working with and talking about MAUI with, and we're making sure that MAUI is going to meet their needs and that they're going to be able to upgrade seamlessly to it. And it's very exciting because, you know, we talked to, you know, I probably can't name drop companies that aren't on this slide, so I won't, but, you know, companies that aren't on this slide, and MAUI is going to solve a lot of their problems, or make their lives easier, or make their developer lives easier. So we're really excited to kind of see how quickly it gets adopted. And we will talk about upgrading briefly at the end, towards the end of this. So if you have a Xamarin app now, don't worry. It is so easy to upgrade it to MAUI. Don't freak out. So let's take a tour of .NET MAUI. I'm going to escape out of this, minimize this. All right. I have all the things open. So let me check. Okay. The first thing that you're going to want to do if you want to start using MAUI is go download the latest .NET. I think it's 7 still. It might be the RC. I don't think so. But you can also use this tool called MAUI check, which is on GitHub, MAUI-check. And that should help you get installed. But you need Visual Studio, you need the Xamarin development tools, and then you need the latest .NET. And then what you can do is .NET workload install MAUI. That's it. There's this whole new thing in .NET, this concept of workloads. Blazor AOT is going to kind of be the other big workload that's starting off with this. But the idea is that, you can get the .NET SDK itself. It's like this big, and then you can add all this stuff on top of it. So MAUI by default includes all the bits you need for Android, iOS, Mac. And Windows is still separate because WinUI is not GA yet, but we talk to them every day. That's going to happen eventually. So I already done this, and I'm not going to do it again because it takes a little bit. But I can show you that if I do .NET New, I have all these beautiful templates here. And let me actually blow this up a little bit. This is Windows Terminal, by the way, if you aren't using it. I love it. Kayla Cinnamon on Twitter works on it, and she has a great Twitter. So I have all of these templates. So these ones are kind of my like item templates. So like just, a C# page and all that. But these are the two big ones, the .NET MAUI app and the MAUI Blazor app. And then of course there's native ones. So you can do an iOS app, Android's up here, and then Mac Catalyst is somewhere right here too. So down here, I'll just do .NET New MAUI, and I'll give it a name. What is it? CONDG? Central Ohio .NET Developers Group. CODNG. Yeah, I know what I'm doing. Oh God, I was so close. Oh, developer, not dot. That makes sense. That's all right. We're here now. And this gave me just .NET New MAUI from the command line, a brand new MAUI app. So let's pop into this, see what's in here. And I will open this in Visual Studio. It'll be a little bit easier at some point. But it gives me a bunch of files, pretty easy. A resources folder, properties folder, platforms folder, and then just a startup file, which is this MAUI program, and my main page. And if you have worked with Xamarin before, you are probably used to this top folder of your project having like 4 different folders in it, one for each platform you're targeting. And this is not the case anymore. It is just this one project and this one solution. And this project multi-targets everything, every device that you want to, target with MAUI, every OS. So I am not going to open this project in Visual Studio. I misspoke. I'm going to open the project I made right before this talk and then manually added a bunch of NuGets to, because of a message I got at like 5:15 p.m. that was like, you need to add all these NuGets to make everything work right with the latest templates. And by latest, I mean like you saw my slide at the beginning of this presentation, updated literally like today. So you can get all the stable stuff, but the stable stuff isn't fun anymore. It's been out for like a couple of weeks. Like, who wants that? Here's like the new stuff. So let's take a look around this app. Do I have Zoom it open? Yes, good. Let's take a zoom here. Boop. So one project in the solution with my dependencies on .NET 6, Android, iOS, Mac Catalyst, and Windows. And then the same folders we just looked at, just to prove to you that this is the exact same app, just plus some NuGet packages, is the one I just created. And the first thing I want to do is show my project file. So it's all an SDK style project. This is the 21st century. I guess the second decade, third decade. Where are we? I don't know. But if you are a Xamarin developer, this is the part of the talk where, if I knew for sure that none of you were Xamarin developers, I would skip all this. And if I knew for sure that all of you were Xamarin developers, I would spend the whole time talking about this. But we're just going to kind of hybrid it a little bit. So bear with me. You're used to these things being like target moniker, target ID, and then like a GUID that somehow the computer knows means Android. Nope, it's just English now. iOS, Android, Mac Catalyst, great. Then I also have this extra target framework in here for Windows, which the template did for me. Use MAUI, single project. So I can still, if I wanted to, split out this project into a separate Android project, a separate iOS project, but you don't have to. So why would you? My versioning and all that, some stuff for C# reload, which we'll talk about. And then this is, to me, the most exciting part, one of the most exciting parts of MAUI, I think. I can share all of my resources across all the platforms without doing anything funky. So literally there's a MAUI image, and it's, in this case, it's an SVG. It's an app icon. I just set this parameter here is app icon to true. And then it knows to take this foreground file, take this background file, squish them together, and then that's just going to be the app icon on every platform, no matter what it is. So if I wanted to overwrite it, I could, but I don't have to. And it's going to do what the native icons look like. So if you have an Android launcher that makes them all hexagons, it will just clip it the right way. Like, it's not going to do anything crazy. Yeah, same thing with a splash screen. It's just a color and a resource. And then regular images were just wildcard, including all of the images in this resource folder, which is just the .NET bot, and all the fonts, which is Open Sans right now, which is kind of the .NET brand font, which is why we like to use it in this app. And then, of course, there's platform-specific code. So if there's anything that you need to do that you can't really do shared, or if you need to do something just on Windows or whatever, there are ways to do that. Multiple ways to do that. One would be using if-defs in any of your shared code. The other would be creating like platform-specific manifests, using platform-specific resources, platform-specific startups, and all that stuff. But the nice thing is this MAUI program startup file here just compiles into what's existing here for your main activity. So it kind of gets like sucked in. So anything you do in MAUI program is going to show up on Android, iOS, all those things, without you doing anything. So, okay, let's see. Let's close out of here. Yes, I just saw in the chat too. Feel free to ask questions at any time. I have the chat open. I'm happy to stop. I know I speak fast, so sorry in advance. I can double click into anything in here too if you're curious. So, and then this is Xamarin.Forms XAML. It's .NET MAUI XAML because this is a .NET MAUI app. But if you write Xamarin.Forms apps, it's the exact same. So very exciting. We have some new accessibility stuff, which I think is great. But yeah, let's run this app. So because I have one project, I get this nice new switcher thing where I get to pick the framework I want to target to. And so we'll start with Android and then what device or emulator I want to target. So this is kind of messy still. We're still cleaning this up. But yeah, right now I have my Android emulator selected. Let's run it on that. It's going to take a second. Let's hope it builds. The last time I built it, it worked, which means like there's a 50-50 chance it just breaks randomly. So we're going to have a great time. But it's loading up. Looks like everything is initializing. Cool. Oh my gosh. I love when my demos just start. This thing here, I'm not going to talk about too much, but it's a new feature called Live Preview. It basically just like remotes your screen into Visual Studio, which is amazing if you're working on a single monitor. But we're not going to use this today. So sorry, Live Preview, because it is like very much brand new. Let's pull up the emulator and shrink the IDE so that we can actually take a look at everything. Boop, boop. Oh, and you can see I'm running Windows 11 because all of my things look weird, but technically like not supposed to be running all of these hot bits at once, but it's fine. It all worked, right? We're great. So this is a very simple app, but this is our template app. You watched me .NET New this like 2 minutes ago. It's just hello world, and it's got a button. I can click that button and it increments this number by 1. Very exciting. So of course, apps are more than just code that exists that you run. You have to develop them. And 2 of the features that are, to me, the most exciting about .NET MAUI development are 2 different hot reloads, which are kind of coming in to create one. So if you're a Xamarin developer, you're probably familiar with XAML hot reload, which was like my baby 3 years ago, where you can just change your XAML and the app is going to update. Like, I know you probably missed it, but this used to say multi-platform app UI here. Boop. And now it says .NET MAUI. Something more obvious, like background color of this page. Let's make it pink. Oh, not in brackets. There, that's it. That's a much nicer pink than I expected. That's XAML Hot Reload. It just goes. And so Xamarin.Forms has had this functionality for a couple of years now. And of course, it's going to still be here in Maui. It's one of our favorite things. But that doesn't do anything for your code behind. So if I go into my Maui test project here and I go into my main page, code behind. So clearly very good MVVM practices in our template app here, where it's just code behind has our logic. And that's sarcastic if you're not familiar with MVVM. But I'm going to change this counter to plus equals 2. So our current count's at 7. Keep your eye on that. I'm going to hit this fire emoji, which I totally take credit for. Making the fire emoji like in everyone's brain mean hot reload, but it's now in Visual Studio. I'm very excited about it. And then I'm going to start clicking here, and you can see it's just incrementing by 2 now. So it saved my state. I was at 7. It didn't refresh my page or anything. But it updated the code behind that was running on click here. And of course I can do like, minus equals 10 and hot reload again. And there's a hotkey. I just don't have it memorized right now because it keeps changing, but there you go. Going down by 10, just like that. And this works in conjunction with XAML Hot Reload so that I don't have to restart my app pretty much while I'm developing. There's a lot of limitations still to C#. .NET Hot Reload is totally in preview. So you can't do things like create a new class or new properties in a class yet, because that kind of requires refreshing everything, but we're getting there. Right now, the most of the changes you can do are just within the body of an existing method. But it is, if your method is your view model, right, that's very helpful for your data manipulation and all that. So that's what it looks like on Android. And to prove to you that this is the same app, let's see if we can continue to press our luck with the demo gods and get this running on Windows. I would have loved to demo Mac, but too many moving parts, and my Mac has been at the office for a week and I have not worked up the motivation to go into the office. So that's fine. Also, I don't have enough memory left to upgrade Xcode. So I have to uninstall it to get the updated one, which is a pain. I work on a team where we do mobile development, and I have a lot of machines, and none of them are big enough or fast enough for me still. So this is running on, I think, the wrong window. Yep. Just popped up over here. Drag it over. But it's the same app. Same app running here. Got my little clicker. It looks a little bit different. Like the button's a little bit less rounded because that's what a Windows control looks like by default. But it's a WinUI app running right here. And the nice thing about WinUI is I get all these beautiful .NET profiling tools, which we're going to bring to Xamarin, to .NET MAUI at some point. But yeah, I have this one code base, this one project running anywhere I can. So let's talk about what that looks like with iOS. So this, like I said, I don't have my Mac with me. And these bits are crazy hot and it's not worth trying to download it right now. But if you are a Xamarin developer, you also might have heard of this thing called Hot Restart. And Hot Restart is a lot of things, but to me, the most exciting thing is that I can plug my iPhone directly into my computer and debug from Visual Studio on Windows without a Mac anywhere in the loop, and I can debug my app just like that. Works with Hot Reload, of course. So the reason it's called Hot Restart is because when we developed the technology, it was just the idea that we didn't have to rebuild and repackage an entire app to push your changes to the phone. Like, can't we just update what changed and push that into the existing package? Because obviously, like, the signing and packaging stuff takes a long time. And then we were like, wait, if we do that, we probably don't need to rebuild the app on a Mac host every single time you make a change. So why don't we just let you not use the Mac host sometimes? So that's what Hot Restart does. It has, of course, limitations. You can't create an app for an iPhone and ship it to the Apple Store without a Mac, because you need a Mac to do, reasonable testing as well as the signing for release and the proper provisioning and all that. But this will get you really far if you don't have a Mac, or if you're working from home, your wife wants your app on her iPhone, which, like, I know all the time I'm like, oh, use my app. And people are like, I don't want to use your app. I'm like, well, it's really easy. I'll just install it for you real quick. Yeah, and I use this all the time with my Xamarin development. And it's working for Maui for some people right now. It is not working for me. So it'll get there. But yeah, that's one option. And then the other option, of course, is being able to pair to an existing Mac. And that gives you kind of a very full build. It gets all the proper provisioning and permissions and specialized assets and all that stuff. But you can remote your simulator over from Visual Studio for Mac. So while you're all on if your Mac Mini is in the closet and on, all you have to do is connect and pair to it. And then you could still do all your testing and development from Visual Studio for Windows with your iOS simulator remoted in. So there are plenty of options for you if you're like Mac averse. If you like Mac, great. Visual Studio for Mac is coming out with a completely rebuilt UI. They're rebuilding it to be like, it's so performant, it's super snappy. And Maui will be supported there at some point once that's kind of out and we can work on it. But yeah, so you have a lot of options. So my next demo is usually more of a deep dive into Maui, but I want to change that into something that's like really new and shiny called the Upgrade Assistant. So let me back out of this. And then let me go into one of my projects, which I like to call Plant Lady. It's an app I built, kind of like a side project telling me when I should water my plants. And let me switch to the branch that is not updated. Now, hold on. Okay, there we go. Now let's create a new branch so we can demo this without screwing up main, CO, and DG. I'm going to do it right this time. .NET developer group. Yeah, I'm great. I know what I'm doing. Okay. So this is a Xamarin.Forms app. It's got all my projects here, Android, iOS, UWP. I can open this in the IDE to make it a little bit easier. Hold on. Plant Lady. Make sure that my branch is good. UWP is unloaded because I don't even think I have the tools installed. Give it a second to boot up. Yeah. Okay. Well, it knows what branch we're on. So this is kind of a legacy Xamarin project. I have my Android project, my iOS project, and then my Xamarin.Forms one with, other junk in there. So if I click on like the Android project file, which I can't do because it's an old style project file. So we'll do it in the terminal. Hold on. I can't type .android/csproj. This is a horrible, ugly, disgusting project file. I mean, like, this is long. It's the old style. This is when I said before, you have your project GUID that just like miraculously means Android. All of these things down here that mean nothing, all your references, blah, 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 blah. So that's kind of what this project will look like by default. But I want to use the Upgrade Assistant tool, which is a .NET tool that was originally created for getting WPF apps to .NET 5 and for getting ASP.NET apps to .NET 5 too, ASP.NET Core to .NET 5. And I'm going to run Upgrade Assistant on the solution for this project. Oh, wait, I have to type upgrade. Hold on. So we have been working on this for like a month and a half now. And it's just getting to the point where I can actually test it, which is very exciting. And it's still mostly broken, but I'm going to show you the steps that it does because I think it's very exciting. And I've been having a good time testing it out with all my apps. So, okay, so I'm getting that error, which means I need to delete bin.obj, I'm pretty sure. As any mobile developer will tell you, if you ever have an issue, delete the bin of your app. So let's go here, let's go here, let's go here, delete, and then let's go here. Sorry, I'm not going to let you watch me fumble my way through the file explorer. Delete. Oh, we're going to fix this, I promise. This was a bug I discovered yesterday. So the demo gods frown. I know. They're like, really? I'm pushing it today. So let's see if this fixes it. And if not, that's fine. We'll just kind of plug ahead and hope that we can at least get something done. Yeah. Oh, Magical. So it's a command line tool. It is step-based. It's not just going to miraculously do everything for you. And it's probably going to get you about like 90, 85, 90% of the way through fully migrating a Xamarin.Forms app to .NET MAUI, or a Xamarin Android and Xamarin iOS app to .NET 6 Android and iOS. So let's select our entry point. I want to update the Android project to .NET 6 first. So it's going to look at that and analyze all of its references and dependencies. And it's going to tell me I should select a particular project to upgrade. And the project I should upgrade is in this order. So I should do the Xamarin.Forms project first because the Android project takes a dependency on it. Very smart. Thank you. So I'll type that in, hit enter a few times, and then it's going to show me all my steps right here. So it backs it up for me. It converts my project to SDK style, which for Xamarin.Forms it already was. And then now what it's going to do is going to go and add the proper target frameworks for MAUI. So I'll just hit 1, let it do its thing, hit enter. Why did it clear everything? Now it's going to start talking. There we go. And it's doing a whole bunch of steps right now to clean up my NuGets and do whatever it has to do to make sure that my MAUI, my Xamarin.Forms project file is ready now for .NET MAUI. And then it cleans up the NuGet package references for the whole project, makes sure that everything that shouldn't be there is gone, because sometimes with .NET 6, you don't have to reference like standard. With .NET SDK style projects, you don't need to reference like standard NuGets anymore. It updated my target framework moniker. I'm just going to keep plugging through. Now it's going to go and take all my NuGet packages, which are targeted for things for Xamarin.Forms. Like this one, removing my outdated package references, and it's going to add the ones that it needs to use MAUI. Project properties is the next one. So make sure that my debug stuff is there. And these steps are all ever evolving. Add a template file. So this is, when we say template file, really what this means is the startup.cs or MAUI program.cs file. Which is how you do it entry into your app now. It's not through an app.cs or app.xaml anymore. And then update on my source code, which is making sure that everything says using Microsoft.MAUI instead of using Xamarin.Forms. Apply all these things. It's going to go for it. It analyzes it. It tells me all the files it's changing. So exciting. And then it's like, all right, did that. Let's go to the next project. And now it's going to do the same thing for my Xamarin Android project, which it didn't, which that's new. But let's see if I do this and try again. What will happen? It probably will not. Interesting. If I delete the Android bin obj again, maybe it will work. Let's take a look at what that project file is. No, that is very much still ugly. Okay, we're gonna do one more bin obj delete, and if that doesn't work, we're gonna give up on it. But delete. Okay. What did I just do? Let's do upgrade assistant, upgrade. That. Boop, 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 boop. Watching it roll. Now it's thinking. It's where I'm upgrading a project, so it's not going to make me select it. Back up. Wow, is this really just going to work like that? That's exciting. Oh, it's also very slow. This is working on something that's changing every day, but use the default path. Let it think through, and then we're going to look at the project file, and everyone's going to be happy. Convert it to the SDK style. Wow, this is taking a long time. Hold on. I have to make a sticky note to ask why this is taking so much longer than the Xamarin.Forms one. And if my computer's just mad at me. Boop, boop, boop. It's very possible. Enter. 1. And it's doing the exact same things it did for the Xamarin.Forms to MAUI project, except it's doing what it would need to do for a Xamarin Android project. So now it's doing its cleanup for NuGet. The next step, clean cleaning everything up, and then updating the target framework monikers, which for an Android project is just going to be .NET 6 Android. I need to change the syntax highlighting on this because I do not see when it says hit enter, which would be really helpful. Add my template files, which I think is just main application. Yes, I'm right. So just a different thing that calls into the MAUI app. It's going to do all my analyzers. So for Android and iOS apps, there's no namespace changes because they don't reference MAUI. They reference what the Android and iOS UI items are. So this doesn't actually change anything, and also is like very possibly going to crash, but it did all the things I wanted it to do already. So that's exciting. And eventually it will just do everything for you, but bear with us. Also, I don't know if it's taking forever because it feels like taking forever or what, but if I go into the IDE, it's going to be like, hey, you changed a bunch of stuff. Why are you doing this? And then I'm going to reload it. It's going to tell me nothing is compatible with Mono because it's not, because it's .NET 6 now. And it's going to continue to yell at me because this isn't actually done yet. Nice. Move to next project, enter. Finalize upgrade, enter. Great. Reload again. Beautiful. And now this Android project has been updated and is ready to roll with .NET 6. So it's, I could hypothetically copy paste these folders and stick it into an Android folder here and just delete the Android project altogether, but you don't have to. My MAUI project here is going to have, you know, the target frameworks based on the platforms I had targeted. So that's great. And it's now that this is an SDK style project, I can look at my project file in Visual Studio instead of in the command line or VS Code. And you can see that this is my whole project file now. This is it. It is so much smaller. And yeah, that's basically what Upgrade Assistant does. It just cleans everything out for you and gives you a fresh start, gets you ready to roll with .NET 6. Yeah, so let me go back to my slides for a second. Anything I wanted to share? Oh, if you're an ecosystem member or you build controls or frameworks or anything and you're worried about MAUI or supporting MAUI, let me know. We'll help you out. We want everybody to feel like they're supported throughout this. We're all open source. We also have a Discord. If you want to go talk architecture with the team, you're welcome to. Not so much for like troubleshooting as much as it is like, hey, fundamentally, how are you handling this thing? So that's fun. And then of course, join us for our live streamed Xamarin.NET MAUI community stand-ups the first Thursday of every month. And they're during the day, good lunchtime break, 1 Eastern time, where we usually give a MAUI status report as well as share some of the community news and contributions. And we'll have a special guest on. And it's always a good time. It's a great place to come and hang out and ask questions and just see what the latest and greatest is. So that's it. I left plenty of time for questions. I can also dive back into other parts of the demo if anyone's curious, but I'll just keep the chat open until Alan tells me to go home.
That's awesome presentation. Thank you very much. Virtual claps from everyone.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody.
We'll give, everyone's being shy and quiet apparently tonight, not really asking questions, but the one I wanted to know myself is I was a bit confused on when you were talking about the Mac and the iOS stuff for the building. Is it that you can deploy straight to an iOS device from Windows, or do you have to at least do with the initial build on a Mac?
Yeah, so Matt's saying in the chat that you're kind of quiet, so I'll repeat the question. Does the initial build have to be on a Mac, even if you are going to deploy to an iOS device from Windows? So no, we actually install with our like Xamarin iOS, .NET MAUI iOS SDKs, this what we call the shell app, which is just like the very basic signed and provisioned package. So that is what gets installed onto your iPhone. And then you don't have to actually pair to a Mac to do any debugging right off the bat. The thing is, if you want to change the app name, the app icon, or any of the like permissions on that app, you need a Mac to rebuild, to build it with, because we can't change like the permissions of an app from Windows. that needs the Mac in the loop somewhere. But if you are like me and you do file new Maui, .NET new Maui app or whatever, and then you're like, oh, I wonder what this will look like on my iPhone, that will work right off the bat.
All right. Hold on here.
Cool.
Let's do a last call for prize giveaways, everyone. Give everyone another minute or two to knock out a couple of signups. The sign up should be, let me see if I still got it saved. Yep, there we go. Let me repost it one more time.
Oh, I see a question. How does WPF MVVM port over to Xamarin? So the XAML flavors, if you will let me say that, are different. They're similar. If you haven't used Xamarin.Forms, XAML, it's similar. The control names are different. There are some kind of like theoretical things like with control binding and stuff that we do, or with compiled bindings and all that we do a little bit differently. But for all intents and purposes, it's the same type of thing. We don't currently have a tool that's going to take a WPF UI and spit it out on Xamarin.Forms, but we've heard that, or on, .NET MAUI. I need to stop saying Xamarin.Forms for everything, but we've heard that, and we've talked about it, and we're interested in it. Whether or not it's something that we're actually going to be able to do in practice, like TBD. But definitely keep, bringing it up and talking about it, because it's something we would like to do.
Any other questions, folks? Oh, come on, guys. I'm sure you have plenty of questions to ask. Don't be shy. Come on, you can do it.
And of course, feel free to email me or tweet me or whatever. I'm on the internet, so you can always bother me there.
Everywhere.
All over.
What do we got here? How does Xamarin compare to Flutter or Kotlin?
Oh, maybe Kotlin is what that was supposed to be.
I was gonna say, I don't remember that.
Yeah. I mean, it the stack it's built on, right? Like Flutter is Dart, Xamarin is C# and .NET, Kotlin is Kotlin. So that's kind of like the fundamental thing. They are similar. Xamarin and Flutter are similar that they're both, cross-platform. Flutter does draw all your controls for you, so for certain controls it's more performant, but it doesn't look necessarily like an Android. It looks like material design by default. It looks like what Google wants controls to look like, which for many people is totally fine. The development experience is a little bit different, so we both have a hot reload, but Flutter is all in VS Code. So, which, I mean, I love VS Code. I think it's fantastic. I have no issues with it, but Visual Studio is kind of where I'm most comfortable, and I think I have more profiling tools and all that stuff than you'd get in VS Code, unless you want to rely on community extensions and stuff. I think the big thing with Flutter is that when you need to get super specific with platform stuff, you have to bump out into Android Studio and into Xcode, which at a certain point, you have to do that with any technology. I just think you hit that wall a lot faster with something like Flutter, because they don't try and abstract out too much native stuff beyond kind of the basics for you. But that being said, the experience there to bump out into a native platform is super smooth. We look at the Flutter experience for bumping out into native code a lot of times as an inspiration for what we would like ours to be. So we can selfishly say, like, you stay in C# longer with us. You can stay in the IDE. You don't have to open Xcode. But when you do open Xcode, the Flutter experience is really nice. So, take your pick. Choose your own adventure. I obviously want you to use Xamarin and .NET MAUI because it's the best. But we have plenty of customers and folks, using Flutter and loving it. Same with React Native. I think React Native has kind of fallen out of favor for Flutter in the past couple of years, which is exciting because the industry is changing and we're still here. So that's good. How does the model binding work for Xamarin.Forms compared to MVVM? Very, very similar. So we still have, like, I notify property changed and you know, you can use bindings in your squigglies and all that stuff. So it's very similar. There are some differences, like I said, like there's no, the way that you do compile bindings in Xamarin is just like a property you put at the entry point to your app if you want to, versus using Xbind. There are some times where we get in a fight with the WPF team about like what is XAML and what kosher XAML is. Like, I'm not the one to get into the XAML nitty gritty. But you can always follow along on our GitHub because there are always like XAML discussions. It's very exciting. And so the biggest difference really is like the syntax itself being the control names themselves being different. So like in a Xamarin.Forms button, the name of the button, what you see on it is text, or yeah, it's text, and what you see on that in WPF and UWP is content. So you have to, you know, check those out. If you don't want to use XAML, I just saw in the chat, not a big XAML fan. There are plenty of you. We understand. I only like XAML because it is very prescriptive. It's like indent, button, purple, like very easy for me. But that's because I am a product manager with a computer engineering degree and not a good front-end developer. You should look at the Comet project, which is by an employee at Microsoft who's basically writing something that uses the MAUI controls space and all the MAUI controls and everything. It's just in more of a model view update type of programming style. So it's all C#. It's literally like button dot add text, whatever, dot color dot red. You know, it's really nice. So Comet, like the thing in the sky. And that's on GitHub. And it's kind of an experiment right now. It's something we'd like to bring in as an option for .NET developers to use in the future, but it's like in its baby days. So yeah, feel free to check that out.
All right. Last call. Any other questions, folks? Nothing? Nothing? Come on. All right. We'll call it good enough. All right.
Sweet.
We're closing out our sign up right now. We have 10 people that have signed up. I'll tell you what, Maddy, we'll have you pick. We have a license for any JetBrains product. It's just a license code.
Price.
So I will, whoever we pick for that, we'll call, or we'll get your email address and I'll email you the code. And then we also have, which I was double checking, we have supposed to be a signed copy of Pro C# 9 with .NET 5, which is a press book. I was just trying to see who exactly was the authors on this. Looks like there's a couple of offers. Oh, okay. I know the person. One of the. It's Andrew Trolson, I believe, and then Phil Chapisky, which is down in Cincinnati. So I know Phil, so that's why we know it. All right. So we, like I say, we got 10 signups. We're just gonna go pick a number from 1 to 10, Maddy, and that'll be the JetBrains license. Let me get my notepad out so I can write down their name.
All right. Any number? That's it.
Any number 1 to 10.
Let's go with the good old lucky 7.
Lucky 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That is an Ivan Rainbolt. Ivan, are you still on the stream?
I know we have a little bit of a delay, but
Let's see. I can't see the participants. Looks like Ivan is not here.
Oh, he's here! Ivan! Yay!
Ivan, all right.
Congratulations!
Ivan, I will get you your code for that. And now, don't you grab another number?
All right, let's do 3.
3. All right. Going down the list in order. 1, 2, 3. That is Mark Noble. Mark Noble, are you here?
Oh, I just saw in the chat that Thomas was 8. Sorry. Had I seen that before, I would have said 8, but I did not.
Mark Noble. Mark Noble. Last call. not here. All right. Let's go for another number. You lost,
All right.
Mark.
Can I do 8? Is that cheating? Because Thomas put it in the chat.
8. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8 is Corey Hahn.
Perfect. Congratulations, Corey, if you're here. Are you here?
Are you here, Corey? Oh, come on. All right. Sure, everyone leaves. You know the rules, people. You have to be in the chat to win.
All right, let's go. Let's go for number 1. I'm a Patriots fan. Cam Newton, quarterback number 1. He sucks.
Number 1 is, who do we got? Brian Wood? Probably not. Okay. We're just going to pick someone from chat. How about that?
All right.
Who wants it enough? Scream really loud.
Yeah, chat us away.
Chat blast. Oh, it looks like Brian Wood is here.
Oh, yeah, Brian Wood is here. Good.
There we go.
All right, Brian,
okay.
You win.
There we go. Brian Wood. All right, you will be getting a copy of Pro C# 9 with .NET 5, Foundation Principles and Practices in Programming. I will email you with, so you can get our address and we'll get that mailed out to you. Or if you're local, someone will figure out how to drop it off somewhere.
Perfect.
All right. So once again, thanks everyone for coming to our virtual meeting. Just as a quick note, I think at this point, the way things are kind of working out, we're going to continue virtual for the rest of the year. So September and October will be virtual. We always have a holiday party that will be hopefully in person, assuming, you know, the COVID numbers look good and all that fun stuff. But that's not till December. And then hopefully beginning back in January, we can be in person, live again. You know, I know you guys are all missing that pizza every month from Donato's. So look forward to seeing you guys again next month. And once again, big thanks to Maddy for presenting on Xamarin and MAUI. This is some pretty cool stuff. I know I haven't had a chance to look into it at all yet, so now I feel like I actually know something about it.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey. All right, folks. We'll see you again next month.